Hello students, welcome to all in this virtual classes. This class is meant for the BA second year students. The title of the paper is Literature in English. Students, in this video we will learn the major themes of the poem Rime of the Ancient Mariner. The major theme, there are five types of major themes I have taken out. The first one is the natural world, second one is the spiritual world, third one is the religion, fourth one is the distribution, and last fifth one is the description of supernatural elements. In this slide we will illustrate the major theme of the poem, the natural world. Realistic description of natural that helps in winning the reader's faith. The sun came upon the left, out of the sea came he, and he shone bright, and on the right went down into the sea. Here is the, in this point we will see, it is the description about the natural scenery, and this natural scenery help us to win the reader's faith. It means the sun came upon the left, out of the sea came he, and he shone bright, and on the right went down into the sea. Means when the sun rises at the time, how it see, the scenery is like same sea, that sun is coming from the sea, and when it sets, the scenery is that sun is downing into the sea. So this sun, it means that this sun is the indication of the imagination or of the faith, like a it helps the it helps to win the reader's faith. Means it is the indication, sun is the indication of the faith. In the next point, the natural world drops and asserts its awesome power over the man. The natural world's power in the Rime of the Ancient Mariner is unquestionable. In a move typical of romantic poets, both proceedings and following Coleridge, and especially typical of his colleague William Wordsworth, Coleridge emphasizes the way in which the natural world doffs and asserts its awesome power over the man. Especially in the 1817 text, in which Coleridge includes marginal glosses, it is clear that the spiritual world controls and utilizes the natural world. The natural world seems to be a character itself, which interacts with ancient mariner. Means here, natural world, here is the indication of the bird, that is the albatross, and it means that this character itself, natural world, it is the character itself, and which interacts or which communicates with the ancient mariner. At this time, the natural world seems to be a character itself, like it is like communicating with the ancient mariner. From the moment the ancient mariner offends the spirit of the rhyme, retribution comes in the form of natural phenomena. Here is the one scene or one thing which I have already illustrated in my earlier videos, that the very huge or big scene done by the ancient mariner, that killing of the albatross. And here albatross is the representative of the nature. Is the this killing of albatross, this action is against the nature, and which takes him and shipmates to thought of a dead. Means against he has done, ancient mariner has killed to the albatross. It means that it is the action against the nature, and because of that the wind dies, some natural calamities occurred due to this action of the ancient mariner. The wind dies, the sun intensifies, and it will not rain. The ocean becomes revolting, rooting and thrashing with slimy creatures and sizzling with the strange fires. Here is the image of the albatross, messenger of hope. Albatross, it is the messenger of the hope, means it is the representative of the nature. And mariner kills albatross. In this second image, we can see here the ancient mariner, and around him shipmates are there, and it is the albatross, it is a natural representatives. It is the natural messenger of the hope, but unfortunately, this ancient mariner has killed to the albatross. This scene has been shown into the second image. The second major and prominent theme of the ancient mariner is the astrologist's famous poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, is the spiritual world. It had popularly interpreted as an allegory of man's connection to spiritual and metaphysical world. The rime of the ancient mariner occurs in the natural physical world, the land and ocean. However, the works has popularly been interpreted as an allegory of man's connection to the spiritual metaphysical world. In this epigraph, Burnett speaks of man's urge to classify things since Adam and named the animals. After attempts at prayer and realization of what he has done, his penance to forgiveness begins spiritually. The ancient mariner shoots the albatross as if to prove that it is not an airy spirit but rather a mortal creature. In a symbolic way, he tries to classify the albatross like all the natural things. I looked to heaven and tried to pray. Albatross, here a mortal creature, is intimately tied to the spiritual world. Yes, this albatross, it is a natural representative. So, and this is tied with the spiritual world. And thus begins the ancient mariner punishment. After killing to the albatross, the ancient mariner's punishment has been begun by the spiritual world by means of the natural world. Rather than address him directly, the supernatural communicates through the natural. The ocean, sun, and lack of wind and rain punish the ancient mariner and his shipmates. When the dead men come alive to curse the ancient mariner with their eyes, things that are natural, their corpses are inhabited by a powerful spirit. Men like Adam feel the urge to define things, and the ancient mariner seems to feel this urge when he suddenly and inexplicably kills the albatross, shooting it from the sky as though he need to bring it into the physical, definable realm. It is moral but closely tied to the metaphysical spiritual world. It even flies like a spirit because it is a bird which is representative of the nature. The ancient mariner detects spirit several times in this poem. Uh, the third major prominent theme of the poem is religion. It is a religious allegory conveying numerous themes in pertaining to Christianity. Although Christian and pagans themes are confounded at times in the rime of the ancient mariner, many readers and critics have insisted on a Christian interpretation. Coleridge claimed that he did not intend for the poem to have a moral, but it is difficult not to find one in the part 2. A religious allegory carrying a main religious theme that reflects Christian beliefs. The ancient mariner essentially preaches closeness to God through prayer and the willingness to show respect to all God's creatures. He also says that he finds to be that he finds no greater joy than in joining others in prayer, to walk together to the kirk and all together pray, which is to his great Father's bands, old men and babes and loving friends, and youths and madness gay. He also champions the hermit who does nothing but pray, practice humility before God, and openly revere God's creature. Albatross represents holy bird. Here is the albatross. It is a bird which was killed by the ancient mariner, and it is the representative of the holy bird. It means that it is the representative of the nature. An ancient mariner fails to respect God's rules and so suffers by curse, which is similar to the religious stories of Adam and Eve. In the Christianity, we can see in the Bible the Adam and Eve. There is a one story which Adam and Eve were punished by the God by after breaking the rules which were made by him. This is also the same story. It is like a similar story of the ancient mariner who fails to respect the God's rules and so suffers by the curse. The shooting of the albatross can be compared to several Judeo-Christian stories of betrayal, including the original scene of the Adam and Eve and Cain's betrayal of Abel. Like Adam and Eve, the ancient mariner fails to respect God's rules and is tempted to try to understand things that should remain out of his reach. Like them, he is forbidden from being truly close to the sublime, existing in a limbo like rather than a Eden like state. However, as soon as of Adam and Eve, the ancient mariner is already a sinner and cast out of the divine realm. Like Cain, the ancient mariner angers God by killing another creatures as well. At the end, he kept alive to pass words of God's greatness on to others. The albatross is even hung around the ancient mariner's neck to mark him for his sin, though the rain baptizes him after he is finally able to pray like a real baptism. It does not ensure his salvation in the end, and the ancient mariner is like a strange prophet kept alive to pass word of God's greatness on to others. The fourth prominent theme of the poem is the retribution. The poem is a tale of retribution throughout the poem. Mariner spends most of his role playing for his impulsive error of killing Albatross. Since the ancient mariner spends most of the poem paying he for his one impulsive error of killing the albatross, the it means that he is also repenting a lot. Ancient mariner also repenting a lot that he against by which was the action against the nature, that killing the albatross, which was the representative of the nature. Spiritual world avenges the albatross death by curse on the mariner and shipmates. The spiritual world also avenges the albatross death by wreaking physical as well as psychological havoc on the ancient mariner and his shipmate. Even they are thirsty, their lips bake black in the sun, they must endure the torment of seeing water all around them while being unable to drink. Really, it was the curse which was punished to the ancient mariner as well as his shipmates, that whether they were very much thirsty, but then also around after after they have the many water around them, but then also not they were not able to drink a single drop of water. It is like a sin, it is like a punishment which was given by the nature. Even before the sailors die, after their punishment is extensive, they become delirious from a debilitating state of thirst. Their lip bake black in the sun, and they must endure the torment of seeing water all around them while being unable to drink it for its saltiness. Eventually, the sailors all die, their souls flying either to heaven or hell. Retribution is blind. The sailors suffer with the mariner, though they themselves have not erred. There are at least two ways to interpret the fact that the sailors suffer with the ancient mariner, although they themselves have not erred. The first is that retribution is blind, inspired by anger and the desire to punish others. Even a spirit may hurt the wrong people. The second is that the sailors are implicated in the ancient mariner's crime. If the ancient mariner represents the universal sinner, then each sailor as a human is guilty of having at some point disrespected one of God's creatures, or if not, he would have in the future. But the eternal punishment called life in death is reserved for the ancient mariner. Presumably, the spirit being immortal must endure eternal grief over the murder of its beloved albatross. In retribution, it forces the ancient mariner to endure eternal torment as well as in the form of his ghost. Though he never dies and may never, in a sense, the ancient mariner rests from beyond the grave to warn others about the harsh, permanent consequences of momentary foolishness, selfishness, and disrespect of the natural world. And the last major and prominent theme of the poem is the depiction of the supernatural elements. The greatness of historical Regis, the ancient mariner, lies chiefly in the technique by which the supernatural has been. The poem is a masterpiece of the supernatural kind of poetry, though this poem contains several impossible incidents. The total effect is very realistic. There is a willing suspension of disbelief on the part of the reader. It means the reader believes what he is reading by suspending disbelief. Her lips were red, her looks were free, her locks were yellow as gold. Her skin was as white as leprosy, the nightmare life in death was she. Means, who thicks man's blood with cold? It means the readers believe what he is reading by suspending the disbelief. This is the description of the witch, skeleton witch, and the description of that her lips were red, her looks were free, her locks were yellow as gold. Her skin was as white as leprosy, the nightmare life in death was she, who thicks man's blood with cold. Such suggestive description of supernatural elements is enough to enable reader to imagine for himself of life in death. It is a horrible woman. This description is of the skeleton ghost, that which this is the horrible woman. That after her description about her appearance, we can imagine that how is the supernatural elements described by the poet. There are many supernatural incidents in the poem. The colorist depicts the tactfully how nature punishes supernaturally for killing its innocent member. There are many, as I have told, that many supernatural incidents in the poem, such as the mariner hypnotic look, the sudden and mysterious arrival of a skeleton ship, the spectre woman and her deathmate, the coming back of life of the crew, the polar spirits talking to the one another. All in hot copper sky, the bloody sun at noon, right up above the mast, did stand, no bigger than the moon. Means here is also very sophisticated description, horrible description about the sky, and it has compared with the bloody sky, and sun has been compared with like blood, and right above the mast did stand no bigger than the moon. To grasp the dreadfulness of life in death, poet says, one after one by the star-dogged moon, to quick for groan or sigh, each turned his face with a ghastly pang and cursed me with his eye. Means due to the crime which was did by the ancient mariner. Means everyone, like a nature, sun, moon, everyone was ghastly pang, means cursed me with his eyes, means everyone is cursing whatever sin has been done by the ancient mariner, means including the sun, moon around his water, everyone is cursing due to the action, due to the killing of the albatross bird. With this supernatural incident, the poet has artistically interlined very realistic and convincing picture of nature, like the shining sun, the mist and snow surrounding the ship, the extreme freezing cold of the Arctic region, the slimy creatures creeping upon the surface of the sea, the shining stars, moons, that everything like shining water snakes. The poet has very skillfully and artistically blended the realistic and the fantastic of the natural and supernatural, the possible and the impossible events in this poem. So, I think students, you have understood these major and prominent themes of the poem. If you are not able to understand, you can review the same video often. So, thank you very much, and see you in the next video.